I think we have a bigger problem, which is China, which is educating and graduating as many engineers every year as we graduate all college students. And so we're facing an economic educational superpower and don't know what to do with all these kids in our country. We can't afford to keep wasting genius. The merit-based system seemed to leave out a lot of people. Some of this lottery stuff doesn't work out as well as people want it to. So we've got a big problem. And so if somebody wants to try something different, what's going to happen is it's going to turn into a big kind of woke war about stuff that at the end of the day, the kids who most need the most help are still not getting it. So, I'm not going to pass judgment on this particular proposal, but I just think that the one thing we should be coming together on is the fact that we want our kids to be able to compete in a brutal global economy with China, and we are way off track right now.
Well, but we're kicking China's ass with kids who have degrees in the dramatic and visual arts. So I just want to say, they may have all the engineers, but it's not like we. And communication skills are
off the chart.
Okay.
The debate over merit-based education isn't just about test scores. It's a battle over opportunity, privilege, and the future of American competitiveness. As New York City shifts back to a system that prioritizes academic performance over a random lottery, Maher and Van Jones find themselves in a heated clash over what merit really means. Maher argues that rewarding hard work and intelligence is the only way to ensure the best and brightest rise to the top, scoffing at the idea that equity should override excellence. Van Jones fires back, insisting that meritocracy in America has always been an illusion, rigged in favor of kids with wealthier parents who can afford elite test prep, while equally talented but disadvantaged students get left behind. As they spar, the looming shadow of China's booming education system hangs over the discussion, with both sides agreeing on one thing. If America doesn't figure out how to balance fairness with fostering true excellence, we won't just lose the debate, we'll lose the future.
So this is for you. Should the U.S. continue working with Iran on a nuclear deal?
Not at all.
No?
No.
Not even that?
Look, because at the same time when President Biden, Jake Sullivan, who I just met, saying that our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Iran. But at the same time, when they continue negotiating with these murderers, it means that they're giving billions of dollars to those who they condemn.
Well,
I mean, I don't get this contradiction. Because
because it's about nuclear. Because we don't want Iran to have a bomb. Because there are obviously you have to make difficult choices sometimes, especially in negotiations.
No, this is the easiest choice. Because look, when you keep continuing with the murders, instead of actually putting pressure on them, that's not going to work. The Islamic Republic only understands one language of pressure. Why? Because they're killing now Iranians in the streets.
Okay.
They're taking hostages. Look, right now, British citizen, Swedish citizen, German citizen, U.S. citizens are in prison, Iran, using them like bargaining chip to get a deal. Imagine a day that the U.S. government asks its own allies, just downgrade your relation until the day when you release all the political prisoners, then we're going to negotiate with you.
Well,
From Mazi Alignad's perspective, the U.S. policy on Iran and the nuclear deal represents a dangerous contradiction. Negotiating with a regime while simultaneously condemning its human rights abuses only emboldens Iran's authoritarian leaders. She has consistently argued that diplomatic engagement, particularly deals that provide financial relief, does not lead to reform, but rather strengthens the Islamic Republic's grip on power. Instead of using resources to improve the lives of ordinary Iranians, the regime funnels money into foreign conflicts, supports militant groups like Hezbollah, and funds religious institutions that enforce oppressive laws, including the very policies that led to the killing of activists like Mahsa Amini. While some claim that sanctions disproportionately hurt the Iranian people, Ahmadinejad counters that the blame should be placed squarely on the regime itself, which has historically prioritized maintaining its power over providing for its citizens. She has also pointed out the hypocrisy of Iranian officials who oppress their own people while sending their children to live comfortably in Western democracies. For Ahmadinejad, the only effective way to challenge the Iranian government is through sustained international pressure, targeted sanctions against regime leaders, and direct support for the Iranian people's fight for freedom, not through appeasement disguised as diplomacy.
I want to imagine a day when then that isn't the regime in Iran. And one way to get that to happen, where that isn't the regime in Iran, is to work with them. Because right now, as long as we keep these sanctions on, we're the bad guy. That's one way that regime stays in power, because they can blame their problems on the big bad Satan in the West, who's forcing them into these horrible restrictions economically.
Can I tell you something? They always blame you. But whatever you do, they always blame you. But let me be clear. While the U.S. were sanctioning the Iran, like the Islamic Republic, at the same time, when we were suffering from sanctions, the money went to Bashar Assad. The money went to Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah. At the same time, 51 religious institutions, their budget got increased. Do you know what is their job? To kill Mahsa, to promote Sharia laws. I remember that Javad Zarif and its own lobbyists going to different media, CNN, New York Times, saying that, oh my God, the blame is killing people because we don't have medicine. But Javad Zarif came on TV and said, proudly, we built a hospital in Venezuela. So they send the money to everywhere. The money doesn't go to the people of Iran. That is why I'm trying to say that, of course, we are suffering from sanction, but the blame should go on the people who are actually fueling the war in the region. The children of the hostage takers are here in America. Can you believe that? Masouma Ibtikar, spokesperson of those students who took American diplomats hostage. Now her son lives in America, and she is welcomed on CNN, like analyzing the news of Iran. Come on, guys, she's the hostage taker.
Okay, agree to disagree. All right. As Putin annexes 4 regions of Ukraine, protests are erupting within Russia, and thousands of men are fleeing to evade conscription. Do you think these are sizable setbacks for Putin? Well, yeah.
Bill Maher's opinion on U.S. policy toward Iran, particularly regarding the nuclear deal, would likely reflect his broader skepticism toward authoritarian regimes and his critique of what he sees as Western naivety in dealing with them. Based on his past discussions, Maher would probably argue that negotiating with Iran, while simultaneously condemning its human rights abuses, is not just hypocritical but ultimately ineffective. He has consistently criticized policies that, in his view, reward bad behavior, whether it's in domestic politics or international relations. Maher would likely agree with Masih Alinejad's argument that Iran's government cannot be trusted to act in good faith. He has repeatedly expressed doubts about the effectiveness of diplomatic engagement with hostile regimes, particularly those that use negotiations as a means to buy time while continuing their oppressive practices. He would likely mock the idea that giving financial incentives to Iran will lead to moderation, pointing out that historically the Iranian government has funneled resources into supporting terrorism and suppressing dissent, rather than improving the lives of its citizens. At the same time, Maher might acknowledge the complexity of the situation. He could recognize that preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon is a strategic necessity, but question whether negotiations actually achieve that goal. He may sarcastically highlight how Iran's leadership always finds a way to blame the West for its problems, regardless of U.S. actions, making engagement a lose-lose scenario. In typical Maher fashion, he would likely frame the issue as another example of how Western leaders prioritize diplomatic optics over real-world results, warning that unless the U.S. takes a tougher stance, Iran will continue playing the long game, manipulating negotiations while advancing its own agenda.
All right. As Putin annexes 4 regions of Ukraine, protests are erupting within Russia, and thousands of men are fleeing to evade conscription. Do you think these are sizable setbacks for Putin? Well, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I mean.
Those are our viewers, Bill.
Yes.
Well, true that. Well, maybe they just want to get us to have a discussion about what's going on in Russia, and maybe another question on this would be, where does this wind up in 6 months? I mean, it seems like Putin is already backtracking on conscription because it was, to say the least, unpopular. But he couldn't get the people to sign up to begin with. I mean, for the beginning of the war, people in Russia were already evading the draft.
I think it's really extraordinary what Ukraine has been able to accomplish. Russia has not done a mass conscription since World War II. Russia didn't do conscription for Afghanistan. As much as they got their butts kicked in Afghanistan, they didn't do it then. So it gives you a sense of the resolve of the Ukrainian people, the effectiveness of NATO and other allies, and the fact that Putin has really stepped on a rake. He does not know what to do.
No.
And so now he's, having, bizarre, we saw the press conference today, bizarre sort of, birthday party for his newly conscripted, newly grabbed territory. Look, my view about it is that we're in very dangerous territory now, because this is unprecedented for a nuclear power to be attacking a country and losing the way that Putin is losing, and losing face the way he's losing face.
Yeah.
And I don't see the off-ramp yet. So, right now, I think we're happy, but, worse days are to come.
Van Jones would likely view the Russia-Ukraine war as both a moral crisis and a geopolitical turning point, emphasizing the resilience of the Ukrainian people in the face of Putin's aggression. He would argue that Ukraine's success in pushing back Russian forces proves that authoritarian regimes are not invincible, but he would also stress that a wounded Putin is a dangerous Putin, especially given his nuclear capabilities. The mass protests and exodus of Russian men fleeing conscription signal cracks in Putin's control, yet history shows that desperate leaders often resort to reckless actions. Jones would warn against complacency, highlighting that while the West must continue supporting Ukraine militarily, it must also prepare for diplomatic solutions to prevent further escalation. More than just a war over borders, he would frame this as a fight for democracy against dictatorship, urging global leaders to stand firm against autocracy, while also addressing the devastating human cost. The war's impact extends far beyond Ukraine, affecting food supplies, energy markets, and global stability, making it not just a regional conflict, but a crisis the world cannot afford to ignore. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Stay updated on the latest world events, deep dives, and real talk by subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. Your support keeps this channel going, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next one. Yeah. Stay informed, stay engaged, and take care.